you want to get to me, you've got to make my gatekeepers like you.
Jeff Watson.
Guys, you just opened up a floodgate.
When you put a powerful lawyer that everybody looks up to on a podcast with a marketing and a systems genius,
John Cochran.
Investors all across the entire country, they're making massive mistakes right now, and they need a better playbook.
Phil, not ignore.
Every single thing that we deliver in this podcast.
Stay in those strategies. Stay in those strategies.
Insider information only.
Stay in those strategies.
Live from Real Estate U and around the globe, this is the Real Estate Investors Playbook. Step on the game.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. This is John Cochran here with Jeff Watson for the 5th episode of the Real Estate Investors Playbook, and this is going to be a very, very powerful episode. Very powerful. Like, very powerful. You know, because what we talked about on the last episode was we talked all about the 2 different ways to wholesale real estate. We've talked about, you know, the assignment. We talked about the double close, but then we also talked about a lot of the things that could go wrong, if you will. Like how can an investor go and get trapped? How can they do? How can they do this the illegal way and to be at in a very, very bad situation. So what most people don't know is Jeff was asking, Jeff, why don't you actually explain this? There's an organization out there called Arello. Okay, now most people don't know about this organization called Arello. Jeff, first of all, what does Arello stand for?
Arello, which is spelled A-R-E-L-L-O, stands for Association of Real Estate License Law Officials. And it's a national organization headquartered in Chicago, whereby members of each state's Division of Real Estate or Department of Real Estate or Real Estate Commission, whatever it's captioned in that state, can join and belong and participate in group sharing activities, exchanging information, tactics, tips, strategies, and so on. And my involvement with Arello is a result of the relationship I've been able to develop with the Ohio Division of Real Estate. So maybe we should almost talk about my relationship with the Ohio Division of Real Estate before we can start to talk about the beginning relationship I have with Arello.
So you went out, you as an attorney in Ohio, obviously, and nationally recognized and everything else. You're very, very highly, admired by a lot of people because of the fighting that you do for investors. And you're also a person that everybody likes to go to, if you will, when, oops, Jeff, I did this wrong, and how in the world do I get out of this? So you've probably, developed a great relationship with the Ohio Division of Real Estate throughout those years and talking to them, and you've got some, from what I know, some close friends at the Ohio Division of Real Estate.
Well, I've developed some close friends at the Ohio Division of Real Estate because of the candid nature of some of the conversations that we've had, and because of the clear commitment that I've made to them of, I want to help get the message out about doing it the right way. Not finding and exploiting loopholes, but what are the rules? How do we follow them and still do this business the right way and make money, cash checks, and pay our bills and grow our net worth?
So people might have seen you on the Ohio Division of Real Estate's homepage.
Yes.
And you were interviewing on that video. You were interviewing 2 people at the Ohio Division of Real Estate.
2 attorneys.
2 attorneys at the Ohio Division of Real Estate that basically, what does the divisions of real estate do? Like, obviously, we're talking about the Ohio Division of Real Estate, but what does the Florida Division, the California, Nevada?
They do 2 things. They regulate and monitor and govern the activities of real estate agents and brokers. We'll call them licensees. And they also enforce rules against people who are acting improperly because they don't have a license but are acting like an agent or a broker.
A wholesaler.
Which is often a wholesaler and so on. Yeah, or certain
because
kinds
they
of
do
flippers.
it the wrong way.
Because they do it the wrong way. So they run afoul of those rules. And so I got this relationship with the Ohio Division of Real Estate through other relationships that I have. The Ohio Division of Real Estate published a newsletter several years ago now that had an article in there that was very concerning, very disconcerting, I should say, to a lot of real estate investors. And due to space limitations, the Ohio Division couldn't put as much information in there as they wanted to. So it caused a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, and fortunately, I had the necessary and right relationships that within days of that being released for publication, I was privileged to be in a meeting with the highest level officials of the Ohio Division of Real Estate. And I was able to start asking some questions. And we were able to suggest the idea, and they came on board with it, they adopted it, they agreed with it, that creating that video would be a good idea. At the time that we created that video, we had no idea the impact that video would have. That video has now been shown to licensed law officials in almost all 50 states.
And just so everybody on the line, that video was on one topic.
Wholesaling.
Wholesaling. So you were asking the top people at the Ohio Division of Real Estate their take on wholesaling and the way that people are doing it illegally.
Yes.
And everything.
Yes. And so I asked the questions, and it was questions that were pre-printed, pre-agreed on, so that they knew how to answer them to get the message out. Okay? There were questions that I came up with that they said, yes, Jeff, we want you to ask that question because here's why we're going to answer the question. It was designed to do one thing and one thing only: educate, educate, educate. Because the more people that learn how to do it right, the better it is for everybody.
Yep.
The better it is for the industry, the better it is for buyers, the better it is for sellers, the better it is for the Division of Real Estate. The more people that do it right is better for everybody. The more people that obey traffic laws, the better it is for everybody. So we're able to do that. And then that video went kind of sort of viral.
Yep.
That video is now, I'm now honored to say that the Ohio Division of Real Estate has agreed to let that video become part of the curriculum that all future real estate agents in Ohio have to take. And they have to watch that video. I'm privileged that they've done that. That's an honor to me. That shows that the division feels that there's that much good content in that video, okay? And how they answered the questions that I asked.
About wholesaling.
About wholesaling.
So
and it's not about a bunch of other stuff, John. It's about wholesaling.
Just about wholesaling in
Right.
general. Which again, in my opinion, and in my business, it's 70% of my business, and it is the best exit strategy, one of the best exit strategies for real estate investors. Now, Jeff, let's.
So from that
video,
I then learned of Arello, and from that relationship, I then said, yes, Jeff, it's okay if you apply to become an associate member of Arello.
I didn't know, honestly, like I heard this out of your mouth, this association that is basically Arello that is looking, and they're trying to, basically make sure that everybody's doing this the right way and the legal way. And if not, they're busting you.
Well, that's what they want to, that's their job, yes.
That's their job, is to go out there and bust you and whatnot.
But what they want you to do is they want you to do it the right way.
Just do it the right way. So I heard this out of your mouth multiple times, and I was like, these guys are a big deal. These guys, like, they're possibly looking at me. They're looking at everybody. These guys are a big deal because they want to make sure that everybody's doing this the right and the legal way. I didn't really know the extent of how powerful they were until you got invited.
I didn't get invited. I was allowed to attend.
You were allowed to attend let's call it a closed door session about kind of what was going on. So you went to
it was the 2017 Arello Investigator Workshop held earlier this month in Portland, Oregon.
So you flew to Portland, Oregon.
Flew across the nation.
And I'm sure there was so many other gurus that got invited to this as well, right?
No. I was the only non-government employee in the room.
So all there was basically like, describe this to me. So you show up in Oregon and like there's all these investigators and obviously you get to be a fly on the wall, if you will.
I got to be a fly on the wall for part of the time.
Why not the whole thing?
Because...
Did you think that you were going to be a fly on the wall for the entire time?
I was hoping I could be a fly on the wall for the entire thing. But when I got there in the morning of day one, I got a very friendly greeting from a friend of mine that's a very big deal in this organization. And she looked at me and she said, Jeff, I know we're friends. I know why you're here. Other people don't understand it as well. They're not as comfortable as I am with you being here. If you're here, it's going to make it awkward for some other people because they're afraid of what your motives really are. I know, she feels comfortable with my motives because we work together on a number of the cases, okay? I've had clients that got in trouble and I will call her up and go, you got somebody here, he knows he screwed up, how do we fix this thing and take care of it? Okay, she knows how I am about compliance, okay? I'm not going to mention names. So we worked a deal out where for her sake, for everybody else's sake, and for my benefit as well, I was going to attend only the session that applied to wholesaling. Okay? Which meant I didn't have to be there for everything else. And that was great. I was there for what I really wanted, which was wholesaling, and that was the afternoon of the second day. Now, the wholesaling session started out with the video that's on the Ohio Division of Real Estate's website, their homepage. We played the video. They played the video. Then I was actually introduced, and I was given the opportunity to say a few things, very brief. But then the most important thing in the whole thing, John, was I got to sit there and listen as investigator after investigator, as regulator after regulator, talked about the things that they're seeing, the things that they're worried about in their state. And I took a bunch of notes.
So you're sitting in a room behind closed doors where they wouldn't allow you in this entire thing. This is the organization
They didn't want me. It wasn't that I wasn't allowed.
They didn't want you in there because they didn't know what the motive was.
They're concerned about my motive. And to make it comfortable for everybody and to give me what I really wanted, but to make it easier for everybody I was only there for the wholesaling session.
What did you want?
What did I want? I wanted to be there and get to meet more of these people and get to know them better. Start exchanging business cards, start to let them put a face with a name, and for them to be able to say, okay, this guy's a good guy, this guy's legitimate, this guy wants to teach other people how to do it right.
So there's no other guru that is even close to that room. Nothing like that.
There's no other guru that knew about the room, let alone could get there.
So now you're in.
Let alone get in there. Let alone have the video that they're in played for the room.
Gotcha.
Let alone then be able to say, hi, yeah, that's me. Thank you for letting me be here. I'd love to chat with any of you if you've got any questions.
So this is the organization that basically they're going out there and making sure that other wholesalers and just real estate investors in general are doing things the legal way. And if they're not doing it the legal way, what do?
Well, let me tell you what Arello does. Arello monitors and regulates the activities of licensees, real estate agents and brokers, and also people who are violating and engaged in the unauthorized practice of being a real estate agent or broker. So it's both of those things. And so they had concerns about both aspects, licensees doing wholesaling and unlicensed individuals doing wholesaling. And so both things were talked about, okay? So it was a very eye-opening and informative experience for me to hear not only what are their concerns, but also to hear how they approach the business of wholesaling, how they see the business of wholesaling, through what lens they see it, the dismal view they have of a lot of it, and the tools of investigation and tactics of investigation that they will apply at this to determine if you're legitimately doing the business the right, ethical, honest way, or whether you're doing the business the wrong way, and then they're going to come after you.
So you're sitting into a room where basically the people that have extreme power are talking about what they like about what they like about wholesaling, and then the dirty things about wholesaling that is big no-nos that there's probably a lot of people that are out there doing it.
Yes. I got to hear
you got to hear concerns.
I got to hear the things that they were concerned about. Okay? I didn't get to hear a lot of the stuff that they like about wholesaling because they don't understand wholesaling well enough to like it. Okay? But I got to hear all the things that concern them. And I got to hear how they see it and how they investigate it. And John, it was eye-opening.
So I'm sensing that we're going to have to do this in 2 parts.
Yes,
I'm
we need to.
sensing that we're going to have to do this in 2 parts, but
not 10, but 2.
Well, maybe 10. 2 parts. So Jeff, take me behind the scenes. Take everybody behind the scenes, because I think this is very important. I mean, to make sure that wholesalers are illegal, you're doing this stuff the right way, and the things that the investigators don't like that they don't do.
Okay, so let me start out with a couple of really important things. From a general view, this is not 100%, but from a general view, they divide people into 2 categories. Okay, the regulators and investigators divide non-licensed real estate actors into 2 categories.
Okay.
Flippers and wholesalers.
Okay.
Flippers, and that's their word for people who buy a house, take title to it, fix it up or don't fix it up, clean the windows, mow the lawn, don't clean the windows, mow the lawn, carpet it, paint it, don't carpet and paint it, whatever, and resell it.
Okay.
And what they say about flippers,
okay,
and what they think about flippers is very, very different and far better than what they think about wholesalers. They understand that flippers are actually buying real estate for their own name and their own account and their own business, etc., and that they are closing on the deal using their own money or borrowed money, adding some degree of value to the property, maybe just in the way they remarket the property, better exposure, maybe the way they clean it up, maybe the way they fix it, maybe the way they rehab it, whatever, and that they then resell what they own.
That's a flipper. They understand it and they like it.
They're okay with it.
Okay.
They understand it's a legitimate business activity.
Okay. So somebody going out there and closing on property, you're buying it, whether you're going to wholesale it or whatever, you're taking title to it, you're double closing this thing in the wholesale world, or you're buying this thing, taking title to it, fixing it up and selling it, making a profit. Cool.
They're cool with that. Why? Because you're doing some things that are very important to them. You're actually performing on your contracts.
Okay.
And when you perform on your contracts, you're evidencing that you have your activities, your actions of actually closing and funding, or funding and closing, establish that you have the intent and capacity to perform on all of the contracts that you're actually entering into.
Okay.
Or in a significant percentage of the contracts that you enter into and that you don't get out of during the inspection phase, okay?
Okay. So that's flippers.
That's how they call it, flippers.
Okay.
That's what they see. They're cool with flipping, which what we call double close wholesaling.
Okay.
Okay? They're cool. They're much more cool with that. I'm not going to say they love it, they celebrate. I'm not going to say that, okay? They understand it's a business. They're like, that's not where we're concerned. In most parts. They do have some concerns at the front end of that model.
With finding deals?
With how the deals are found.
Give me an example.
2 examples. And this is important, okay? This is really important that we got to think about. They're concerned about marketing activities that are targeted towards elderly citizens and grieving people that have recently suffered a loss. And here's what it is. When you're marketing towards the elderly that really don't know the value of their real estate, but it's free and clear, you as the flipper may not be paying anywhere near fair value for that property.
Taking advantage of?
You're taking advantage of an older, confused person, okay?
Okay.
You might be doing that. They have some concerns about that, okay? And I can understand those concerns. On a big scale, I
get it.
Okay? The one that really got me, though, is the targeting of your marketing on grieving family members that recently lost a loved one, and you're now trying to buy the house cheaply and quickly. Probates. That was eye-opening for me to hear how they talk about that. Because remember, these are individuals that they're there to protect the public from bad actors. And so they see these two segments of the public, the elderly and the grieving, as people that need protection. And it's their job to help protect them. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit of a commercial phase right here, John. When I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this, and this is really deep and intense stuff, I thought to myself how grateful I am that you and I together in Wholesale Reformation and you on your own have advocated for years now of building relationships with probate attorneys rather than direct mailing to a bunch of widows and sons and kids. Okay? And let me explain why that is, folks, and this is significant. When you're getting your probate deals through a probate attorney, that probate attorney is protecting the family of the grieving. They have a fiduciary duty that they owe to them, and you're dealing with someone who has a fiduciary duty, who's independent, clear-minded, a trained professional that has made the determination that it's in the best interest of the family and the heirs that that property that otherwise couldn't be easily sold on the market should be sold to a wholesaler. When you're getting your probate deals that way, you don't have to worry about it being accused of taking advantage of the grieving, because you're getting your deals in a legitimate, verified, trusted way, because the probate attorney is making sure that it's okay with the family, that the deal happens, and it's getting approved through the probate court if necessary. And it's very different than you're bombarding Widow Smith with 19 pieces of mail over a 14-week period of time trying to get the house from her while she still has no clue about how to do anything other than breathe because her husband just got killed in a horrible car wreck.
Makes sense. I mean, you know, here's my standpoint on it is, you know, from an investor standpoint, you know, honestly, we started really focusing on relationships a couple of years ago because of where the market is at, and then we started looking at all the other ways that people was finding real estate deals. So one of the things that and probate is one of our best sources. However, you know, since really tackling relationships and understanding relationships, and I've said this in past episodes, that if I get hit by a bus, there's one thing that I want people to understand. There's actually three things, but there's one thing that I want to understand is conquer relationships. But why in the world would you, let me tell you the difference. Why would you go and send direct mail out, which this is 99.9% of real estate investors. They'll get a probate list or whatever it is. They'll get a probate list, and then they'll send direct mail to the heirs or whatever. And I cannot wrap my head around why they would do that, because typically in most cases there's one house. But if you build a relationship with a probate attorney, they control more than one house. They are representing these heirs and everybody else and helping and guiding them with what they should do with that property, sell it or whatever, and they might be working on 30 or 40 cases. So instead of going and being able to get your hands on one deal, you could get your hands on 40 deals. And oh, by the way, you don't have to pay for any of the marketing with a relationship.
Correct.
So from these investigators' eyes, they look at it, what you're saying and what I'm hearing, is that if I go and market to somebody, the heirs that are in probate, that is really not clear into the head, I guess you'd say, because they're grieving, that you can get these properties extra cheap or whatnot, And when it all comes down to it, you can get accused of taking advantage of somebody that's not into the right mind.
Correct. And I don't want anybody that I'm teaching how to do this business doing activities that are going to put them in that vulnerable spot. Because I've got to flip the coin around. Because, John, I've been the probate attorney. For several years, I ran a very successful probate practice as part of a firm I was at in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. And I would tell my clients, I would tell the family members, I would tell the widow, the surviving spouse, listen, for the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to focus on breathing, not on making major financial decisions. And selling a house is a major financial decision. So then I asked myself the question, well, then why am I an advocate of, and I shouldn't be an advocate of? To be consistent, to be congruent, to be internally consistent and congruent, then building a relationship with a probate attorney is congruent with the advice that I'm giving of saying, listen, that surviving spouse shouldn't do anything for 6 to 12 months. No major life decisions. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, unfortunately, some people are left in such a bad position due to lack of planning, no insurance, no resources, and other horrible things that they don't have 6 to 12 months of breathing time. And those are the ugly ones. Okay? Those are the ugly ones. And I've been there. I've had a couple of those. Those are not pretty, those are not fun. But you got to do what you got to do to help them. So, to wrap this up and bring it around, that was a major eye-opening experience where I'm hearing about how people, because I'm thinking to myself about how guru after guru, and John, I got to tell you, in all candor, I'm affiliated with and own a company that helps you mail to free and clears, helps you mail to probates. I got it. I understand why that happens, but now I see the flip side of it from the regulator perspective of protecting the general public.
I get it. I mean, it makes total sense.
So this was a huge eye-opener. And John, to go back to your point, I want you to understand this. I'm sitting in that room looking at things through a different lens than anybody else. There's no one else in that room that knows and understands about the direct mailing towards free and clears, towards vacants, towards probates, and realizes the boomerang that can come back at you. Okay?
So you're into this.
The potential boomerang.
So there's two different things, right, that were talked about. Flippers was the one, and basically they said a flipper, in this room was somebody that they
buy, fund, take title.
They buy, fund, and then they take title, and then
sell.
They can sell, rehab, whatever they got to do, or they can double close these things and wholesale these things all day long. That's a flipper. Then what you also, so they're cool with that model, but what they're not cool with is the way that people are finding deals. And now this probably wouldn't be, yes, it's the flipper model, but it's also the other model, the wholesale model. They're not okay with a lot of the ways that flippers or wholesalers are acquiring property.
I don't want to say that they're not okay with it. I'm going to say that they have concerns.
Okay.
They have concerns with how some of the properties may be acquired through some of the aggressive marketing techniques.
Okay, so
when, once again, I feel that there's a very clear safe harbor that if you are getting your deals from a probate attorney and you're funding them and taking title to them and then reselling them whenever you decide to, however you do, you are in both safe harbors. You are glorious, you're good, you're wonderful, you're great.
Okay.
I don't see any regulatory concerns coming at you. You may not have any coming at you anyhow, but I just see the potential, particularly in markets where houses have appreciated a whole lot and people don't realize it. Some very insightful commentary came from people in markets where the properties have gone way up in the last 10 years,
yep.
Particularly the state of Colorado. 10 years ago, properties cratered in Colorado. In the last 10 years, they have gone way up. I mean, the market has gone nuts in certain areas in the state of Colorado. And people may not know the full real value of their houses. Okay?
Did they say anything other than probate, though? Like I understand it, the grieving process.
It's the elderly and the grieving were the two areas that the focus was.
The elderly and the grieving.
Yes.
And the elderly could even, by me going out there and as a real estate investor, I'm looking for deals, and I get a free and clear list with equity on it, that is probably going to be more of the seller is their demo is going to be probably more of an elderly type, and that's where their concerns lay.
So let me break this down, and this is not where they went. This is deeper than where they went. If you're marketing to the free and clears and you're concerned about, being accused of taking advantage of the elderly, there's a couple of things that you can do. Segment that list even deeper and market to free and clears that are non-owner occupied.
Gotcha.
You're golden. Why? Because now you're buying from a landlord that should know the value of his real estate.
Gotcha.
How hard was that? Combo list generator, another field, bang, boom, on we go.
So it's the elderly that is owner occupied where their concerns are.
That's where their most concerns are, definitely. So free and clear, non-owner occupied, that didn't even come on the radar screen.
Okay.
Okay? Didn't even come on the radar screen. Let me tell you the other thing that came on the on the radar screen. This was really eye-opening. They are looking at individuals regarding the volume or the amount of offers that they are making and the number of contracts that they're entering into at any one time. Okay? Because the question that they're going to ask is, can you fund, can you close on, do you have the money to actually buy all of the houses that you have under contract? So for that guy or that gal that's got someone else's wholesaling course and has gone out there and put 14 properties under contract and is trying to advertise all 14 properties, they're going to look at that guy and they're going to go, show me the money in the bank to fund the purchase of all 14 of those houses.
Got it.
Show me the line of credit. Show me the private lender relationship. Show me the resources that you've got to fund the 14 houses that you had under contract that were all supposed to close in the month of November. And I'm going to tell you, if you can't prove it, they feel like they've got you. And that's not a good place to be.
Well, you can't go out there, and honestly, dude, I see so many investors bragging about how many deals that they have under contract or whatever, and I also see a lot of investors that don't execute on those deals because they can't find their end buyer or whatever it might be. And that's exactly, you can't go and put 10 deals under contract and only do one of the deals, because in an investigator's eyes, they're looking at it as, hey, there's 9 other deals that you should have had the money for.
And those actions of not being able to perform on those 9 other deals, those actions prove in their eyes that you did not have the intent and the capacity to perform, and therefore you're engaged in activity that is contrary to their license law. That you're no longer within the exception because you're not doing it for your own account. Because if you were doing it for your own account, if you're doing it for yourself and not for another, you would be funding and closing.
Yep. This is a big eye-opener. I mean, if you think about it, because I understand it. I get it, from that. I do all relationships anyways. I've been pounding relationships. With other people, with acquiring deals through relationships for a very long time. Whether, the people choose to believe me or not, it doesn't matter. That's where the fatter deals are at. That's where the cleaner deals are at. That's where you don't have to pay for any of the marketing to find any of these quality deals out there. That's why I do relationships. I don't have any competition on any of these deals. All these other investors, and I get it from, I don't have to like it, but, I get it from the perspective of they don't like you to go to probate the heirs and everything because of the grieving process. They don't like it. I get it. I mean, I understand it from that perspective.
You have to understand it from the perspective of they believe that their job is to protect the public.
Right.
And they're looking at how is the public taken advantage of. And they don't want the public, they don't want a member of the public to have to explain to their heirs, to their kids or their grandkids, I sold the family home for 40% of what it was really worth because I didn't know any better.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of put this together, you sit you came into a room, closed doors, whatnot, with investigators in there and what they like and what they don't like about real estate investors.
I got a couple more nuggets I want to share for this session. Okay.
Well, I want to cover. We've covered flippers. I want to cover wholesaling into the second part of this.
Okay.
The actual assignment is what it is. What else did you actually learn about their concerns about flippers in general, of what they don't like? We've got the probate, and going to the direct house. They don't love that. What else?
There was nothing else regarding the people who actually put it under contract, fund it, close it, take title to it, and then resell it later.
So that's the big thing that they have a problem with is the elderly, and
that's the thing that they could have a problem with.
Okay.
That they could. I'm not saying they do, but that they could. That's the concern that I heard in the room.
Got it.
That's where we, wanting to do this business with the highest level of ethics and honesty and integrity, we've got to say, hey, wait a second. Am I doing my business in a way where I'm opening myself up to being accused of taking advantage of somebody else?
Yep.
I don't want you to run your business in a way that you're accused of taking advantage of somebody else. So if you're getting deals referred to you by a probate attorney, you don't have to worry about that. Okay? That was a big takeaway for me. The other big takeaway for me as it relates to what they refer to as flippers is when they see you funding your own deals, they now know you're legit. You're taking title to it. You're clearly doing it for yourself or your own account. And you're within the clear written exemptions or exceptions in the real estate license law of that particular state.
But that doesn't mean that I have to have all the cash in bank, right? But myself.
You don't have to have all the cash in the bank yourself, but you have to be able to show that you had access to the capital.
Gotcha.
Because if you have access to the capital, then you're buying the houses. Then the money gets wired to the closing. Doesn't matter where it came from. Doesn't matter whose self-directed IRA is bankrolling this. The money's there for you to close.
So I guess to wrap this thing up, really at the end of the day, it's number one, it's what I've been saying for years now. Get your deals through relationships. And oh, by the way, probate is just one of them. Your friends and family can bring you many different relationships, not deals, but relationships that can refer you. I mean, contractors, there's so many different ways to work relationships. Let me give you another example. Like instead of going to the sheriff's sale to bid on the actual property yourself, why don't you go to the sheriff's sale to network with the crowd and get deals under contract that the crowd has and get to know that crowd? It's called a relationship, and just spin it around. So for every single strategy that I have of finding deals, you can spin it to a relationship, and that's exactly what I've done. So relationships is key. Number one for bringing in deals, and in this case, probate attorneys, they absolutely love that. And then the other big aha, for everybody on the line that's listening to this is don't go out there and put deals under contract that you can't perform on.
Correct. If you lack the ability to perform, then you're going and putting it under contract without the intent to perform. You're now engaged in a fraudulent activity because you're now inducing someone to enter into a contract that you don't intend to perform on.
Got it. That makes sense. Any other closing words that you want to give everybody? Because on this second part of this, I want to dive really deep into the wholesale and what you learned from that meeting.
I will tell you to wrap this one up is get money lined up. Have adequate resources lined up to be able to do this business. Because having that available, having written proof that you can fund and pay for all 15 houses you have under contract scheduled to close in November will go a long way in helping you answer any questions should and when you get investigated or examined.
So let me ask you one other question about this, because I see it on Facebook, I see it everywhere. You don't need to have a realtor license, you don't need to have cash, credit, or anything. It's almost like, anybody could be a real estate investor, which they can. But at the same time, it's like I see all these gurus going out there pitching it and doing this the wrong way. What would you say if they're following other people that are saying, hey, go out and mail to the probate, the heirs or whatnot, and they're telling them, hey, you don't need to have any money. Like, just go out there and put offers out there. It doesn't matter. Just see what sticks. Every 25 offers that you put out there, you'll get one deal, even if you just see what sticks. What would you say to those people that have heard that into the past?
That if they do that, they're doing those activities at their own peril. They're putting themselves on a very dangerous and slippery slope that is going to lead them into a lot of trouble.
Boom.
That's what I'm going to say.
Guys, do it the right way. So we're going to end this thing. This has been powerful. This has been part one. I wanted to kind of interview Jeff and find out what happened at the Arello behind the scenes into the closed room. Part number one, we've talked all about flippers, in probate and the elderly and bringing in deals. We've also talked about just not putting anything and everything under contract. What we're going to do in part two is we are going to go deep into the wholesaling, like what they thought about the assignment and everything else. So it's going to be absolutely powerful. Definitely check out that next episode, and I will see you inside that episode.
Until then, peace, I'm out.
And go get the show notes at wholesalereformation.com. Get the show notes there. Take the wholesaling quiz. Make sure that you're doing this business the right way. See you guys on the next episode.